Okay, so Melissa Grosboll is a multi-passionate entrepreneur with many career changes in her life. She spent 20 years as a chiropractor, got burned out, retired, and opened an edible cookie dough dessert shop. My daughter would love that. In 2022, after 5 years, the last filled with several traumas, she closed her business. A few months later, she was diagnosed with breast cancer in early 2023. Through her healing process, she rediscovered her passion for health and wellness and began a new career as a certified personal trainer and certified exercise specialist, helping others regain their health and strength following a cancer diagnosis. She is also the host of the Many Faces of Cancer podcast, sharing stories of hope and inspiration from others on their own cancer journey. Melissa lives in Colorado with her husband of 32 years and has a 27-year-old daughter currently studying to become an engineer. So welcome, Melissa, and thank you so much for being here to speak with us all.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to meet all of you guys and share with all of you. And I'm very sorry that Erin can't be here. I met Erin on LinkedIn. Erin was actually a guest on my podcast last week.
Oh
And
my goodness.
yes, so
From
if
the
you guys,
hospital room.
well, no, we recorded it a few weeks ago before she went into the
Oh,
hospital.
I gotcha. I
But if
gotcha.
you guys are interested in hearing more about her story, I'm sure you all know her story. But last week's episode of my podcast is her story, and you can find it on all the podcast apps. You can find it on YouTube. You can just search me or the Many Faces of Cancer, and you'll be able to find it.
Okay, great, Melissa. What I'll do is I'll look for it and put the link in the chat while
Okay,
you're holding it.
sure.
So, who wants to go first with an introduction? Gloria, what about you?
I guess that's what you get for being loud. I'm a five. I'm a bilateral breast cancer survivor, and it was the late effects of Hodgkin's, and I'm a five-time cancer survivor now.
Woo woo.
Five primaries, different ones, and four or five skin cancers. And I'd say exercise has kept me alive. I live in Austin, and we're very fortunate to have an organization called Team Survivor. Can you hear me? Team Survivor began as an outreach of the Danskin Triathlon that was formed by Sally Edwards. Can you hear me? I'm losing bandwidth.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Anyway, we've got a wonderful, I wish every city had this, free exercise classes all over town of all types, including pole dancing and canoeing and dragon boat racing and whatever. But I'm a swimmer. When the pandemic came, I put a swim spa in my backyard and I swim half an hour, 4 or 5 times a week. And I just completed cardiac rehab from after having a TAVR, and I love the cardiac rehab. It reduced my A1C. So I'm an advocate of exercise big time, and I'm very fortunate that my husband is a rolfer that's kind of specialized in radiation fibrosis, so I get a lot of body work too.
Thank you, Gloria.
Great to meet you, Gloria.
Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll go next. Can you hear me?
Rachel? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me or no?
Yep.
Oh, okay, good. I was interested in the fact that she said she exercises because I'm an exercise fanatic. I'm 77 years old. I was diagnosed, I had Hodgkin's in 1965.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm a very long-term survivor. And I think exercise has been the key to the fact that I think I'm really healthy. In those years, some 60 odd years, I lose track. I've had, um, I've had breast cancer, bilateral mastectomy. I did not have reconstruction, and I'm glad I didn't. I had hysterectomy. I had TAVR. I had the TAVR, which because of the exercise, I had it. I was in during COVID, and I was home exercising actually the following day. I've also had sinus surgery. I've had everything, every possible thing, but I attribute really the fact that I feel as healthy as I do to the fact that I've always exercised. I always had a treadmill. I've now gone to a recumbent bike because of the goddamn neck. And the only
Mm-hmm.
reason I can hold my head up is because I was a Juilliard singer. I was at
Wow.
Juilliard. So I always did those exercises, but I'm all bone. And I do not do, um, I'm really quite strong. I don't do upper body exercises, with weights or anything because it puts too much pressure on my bones. So I don't do that. But I do 2 hours a day on a recumbent bike, and
Wow.
then I know it's obsessive. It's really and then I do another 2 mile walk. I live in Manhattan, so it's easy to walk. So I do 2 hours religiously every day on the recumbent, and then another.
Amazing.
Well, it's really. I think it's key. I think the exercise is key. I don't know whether other exercise, swimming. I could go swimming, but I don't like getting wet and having to change and then getting my hair wet. And I was a lifeguard when I was young, but my husband goes swimming. I just don't have the desire to change in the locker and the whole thing. So any suggestions are more than welcome. Um, but
Great.
I agree.
Thank,
Exercise is absolutely key to everything.
thank
Wow,
you,
you
Rachel.
guys don't need me. You're all right.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
Why we're not done yet. Okay, who's next?
I'll chime in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey Wilbert.
Yeah, hi. My name's Will. Well, it's Wilbert, but I like to go by Will.
Okay. Hi,
Will
Will.
Hill. Will Hill, All American. Um, I had Hodgkin's about 40 years ago, sometime in the 80s.
Mm,
Interestingly, I think I saved my own butt. I had a subclavian, left subclavian lump,
yeah. Hmm.
and saw a doctor one year, and he said it was just a reactive node. I says, okay. Another year went by, another physical appointment, fairly active, athletic. Same thing, different city, uh, reactive, reactive node.
Mm.
Okay. Third year, yearly, it's still there. It's a little bigger. Doctor says a reactive node. Now this is 3 years, and I'm a nurse. Um, I saw a surgeon who I knew in the hospital I was working at in New Hampshire, and said, "Hey, Bill, see this thing? You're taking it out." And he poo-pooed me a little bit. He said, "Okay, come in the office Monday, whatever day." And he took it out. And a month later, I saw him on the floor of the hospital. He says, "Oh, Will, we got your results back. You have Hodgkin's." Oh, well, that's interesting. What do I do now? I got a second opinion in Mass. I got a second opinion, and they said, "Oh, to get staged, you have to take out your spleen." And And I said, "Well, you sure? Okay, well, you're an expert." So I had a splenectomy. I wish I didn't.
Oh, right.
Um, I had, and it came
Mhm.
the stage 1A. After all that time, it was just a 1A. So I got radiation therapy in my upper mantle. Got radiation sickness for 6 months. I'm 6'3", 6'4", and I must have gone down to 150 pounds because I was starving to death, but
Mhm.
everything I put in my mouth tastes like metal. I'd spit it out. I could drink ice cream, scraps, and I got better. And was doing fine, I guess I am doing fine, except the last couple of years I've had some fallen. It feels like I've been going to doctors for long COVID for like almost 2 years. I had sinus surgery for polyps, and I never really got better. I still feel like I have the flu sitting here, and it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years. So I'm struggling with that. The diagnosis du jour
Oh,
is mold. So I'm
oh,
working on a mold. Uh,
well, I'm glad you could join us today, Will.
yes, and I don't even know how I found you.
Oh,
Um, but here we are, and I said, "Oh, Hodgkin's." And, oh, let me learn more about Hodgkin's because I had that.
yeah, well, we're glad that you're here. Thank you. Okay, who would like to go? We got a few people left.
I'll go. My name's Natalie. I am a 50-year survivor from Hodgkin's. I also was
Uh,
diagnosed stage.
1975?
Yes,
Me too.
I was 15 years old at the time. And I had, the lumpectomy out of, taken out of my leg. I had the splenectomy as well, and just radiation therapy. And I did really well for 35 years. I thought that Hodgkin's was in my past, never had to worry about it again. But then little problems started creeping up. I had to have my thyroid removed. Then I developed breast cancer, had a double mastectomy. Then I had to have open heart surgery. And
Oh, wow.
after the open heart, I did fairly well. I exercised actually quite a bit, but then COVID hit and I kind of stopped going to the gym. And I never really got back into it because lately I've developed, I guess, the radiation fibrosis. I've got a lot of issues with my neck and upper body. And so even just walking is just physically hard for me. And so I'm not exercising as much as I would like to. So I became aware of Hodgkin's International. I think I just found it online and I've been kind of following you for a couple months. And I saw this Zoom presentation. I thought I'd join in.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for being here. Who else would like to introduce themselves? Oh, Julia, you're muted. I don't know if you're
She's muted.
Yeah, I think she's looking for the mute button.
It's on the bottom. It's all the way on the bottom.
So you can put your cursor over your picture, Julia, in the upper right. Do you see unmute?
I do.
There we go.
Here?
Yeah, I can hear you. If you're not speaking, maybe you can mute yourself. Because I am getting background noise. Can everybody mute except Julia?
Yeah, she's not doing it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I too was diagnosed in 1975 with stage 3B Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had a staging laparotomy. I had the cobalt radiation full mantle treatment. And later, within a year, I had relapsed. It was stage 4. And I had the MOP chemo treatment. Since then, because of the radiation, I have had double mastectomy, a rectal resection, a right hemicolectomy, and recently, the radiation has caused a complete heart block, and a few months ago they put in a pacemaker. Prior to that, I've been able to walk like a mile and a half a day, and I have not gotten back to that level quite yet. I still am tired quite frequently, but hopeful to get back to that mile and a half a day.
Great. Thank you so much, Julia. Okay, I think we've got Michael and Tara left.
Sure. I'd be happy to introduce myself. My name is Michael Lepson. I am a two-time Hodgkin survivor. I first was diagnosed in 1980 at stage 3B and recurred in 1988 at stage 1A. So initially I was treated with MOP regimen, and then radiation in 1988, upper mantle, and really have not had issues until the last few years when all of a sudden I started to develop neck issues, obviously very common. And then 2 years ago, I had open heart surgery for a valve replacement for aortic valve. And so since then, I've just kind of felt the need to step up my exercise regimen. And that's kind of what I'm looking to do is just kind of, I'm finding a lot of benefit from doing that. And so I just need to keep it up, and whatever tips I can get or suggestions to help improve, I'm certainly open to.
Great. Thank you, Michael. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn the baton over to Melissa.
Actually, Sophia, can you kind of tell me a little bit about your story as well
Oh,
before you're done?
sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So there's three of us, I guess, diagnosed in 1975 at the age of 16.
That was a
And
busy year for Hodgkin's.
yeah, it was. I was in New York, treated at Sloan Kettering. I received the MOP ABVD protocols alternating every every month for 2 years. It was a 2 years treatment cycle. I also got mantle radiation, but it was reduced. It was about 2,000 gray as opposed to 4,000. Um, Pretty soon after I was done, I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism, and they had to remove part of my thyroid. And most survivors have the opposite, hypo. And then in my 30s, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Uh, and I was treated with a lumpectomy and more chemo. So I'm maxed out on the adriamycin. I can't have any more of that. But I also have, and this is something that anyone who received the MOP regimen should be aware of. The procarbazine can cause colon polyps. So my colon right now is a polyp factory. So I go every 6 months for a colonoscopy and they cut out a bunch of polyps. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now. And I'm just thankful to be here 50 years later. And oh, I exercise every day. I actually belong to the Y and Planet Fitness. Every day I'm on the recumbent bike, and other day I do strength training on the machines. And I also average about 15,000 steps a day.
Wow.
I'm an athlete. I played I played sports in high school and yeah, so yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys all so much for sharing a little bit of your story and for joining today to kind of talk about this. And it seems like a lot of you are already pretty good into exercise, and I love to hear that because my motto is movement is medicine, and the more our bodies are designed to move, whether it's running, walking, biking, swimming, strength training, just moving around the house. The more we sit, the more we age, the more we decline, and just being up and moving around is very important. So I love that several of you are already kind of on that bandwagon. And so if you'll allow me just a little bit more about myself, as Sophia said, I was a chiropractor for 20 years, so I'm very versed in body mechanics and movement and the way that the body and the spine work. And that has really helped me now in my new career as a personal trainer. And I've been a fitness enthusiast for probably 20 years. I didn't like it when I was young. I would just, go to the gym for a few months if I wanted to lose a little bit of weight and then go back to life as normal. And, once you hit like late 30s, early 40s, that doesn't really work anymore. And so it took me a long time, but now I mean, I just love exercise. I'm in the gym or out on the trail every single day, getting in some kind of movement and activity. And so when I was diagnosed with cancer, movement was what helped me with my recovery and helped me when I was going through treatment. And when you're going through cancer and people ask like, what can I do for you? Or how can I help you? Or what can I do? And for everybody, my husband is a great cook, so I didn't need meals. He was a great caregiver, took care of me. I told people, I said, come over and take a walk with me. I need to get in my walking. I need to be out in nature. Nature is healing. Nature is just yeah, it's everything. And so I had so many friends who would just come over to the house and we would go for a walk. And it helped my healing. It helped my socialization, just being with other people and not sitting in a chair all day feeling sorry for myself because I wasn't feeling good going through my treatments. And so I discovered this program that is the Cancer Exercise Training Institute, where you can train to become a cancer exercise specialist. So I learned all about all the different kinds of cancer that are out there and how to work with people who are going through treatments and after treatments to help regain their health and their strength. And I will be 100% honest with you, until I met Erin, I really didn't know a lot about Hodgkin's. I didn't really know anything about the late stage effects that happen with Hodgkin's. So I really kind of did a deep dive and learned, really as much as I could about Hodgkin's and, what you all seem to be going through, which is very unfortunate from a standpoint of, the way treatments used to be. And, treatments are designed to save our lives, not necessarily to save our health, for lack of a better way. So, and, the main thing that I'm here to share with all of you guys today is I'm not here to say, oh, you need to go out and run a marathon, or you need to be in the gym lifting for an hour a day, every day. Movement is medicine. And like I said before, any kind of movement that you're doing is better than no movement at all. And if you are already an avid exerciser, good on you. Hopefully I can help to give you a little bit of motivation to add a few things or do a few things, a little differently. If you're new to exercise or you're trying to get back into it, then, really slow and steady is going to be my overarching message. And to start slow, to understand that you don't have the same body that you did before you were diagnosed. One of the biggest things that I have to work with my clients is helping them to understand that. A lot of my clients were very avid exercisers before they got diagnosed, and they went through, 3 months, 6 months, a year of treatment, and they want to be back to the way that they were before they were diagnosed. And overcoming that frustration and anger and wanting to give up because they're not where they were before it's a big emotional and mental hurdle. There's disease of the body and cancer of the body, and then there's cancer of the mind. And sometimes I think that healing from cancer of the mind is harder than healing from cancer of the body, because we tell ourselves all of these things of, I can't do it, and I'll never be the same, and life is horrible, and cancer sucks, and I'm never going to be okay. And, just the negative crap that we go through with that. And I have a friend who's a life coach, and he calls himself a cerebral sanitation engineer. He helps people get rid of their head trash, which I absolutely love. So I kind of like to make this interactive. I love to talk, and I can talk all day long, but I don't want to bore you guys, and I don't want to be talking about a lot of things that you don't really care to hear about. So like I said in the beginning, and Natalie, I don't know if you were on when I started this, if you have any specific questions or anything that you want to know specifically about, if you could please put that in the chat so I can really address what you guys want to know and why you're here, other than just talking about a bunch of generalized stuff that may not actually apply to you. So does anybody have any questions before I kind of get into things? You can just raise your hand or say nothing or... All right, here we go. So exercise, again, like I said, is not just about going to the gym every day. Okay, strength training is very, very important for our muscles. It's very, very important as we age. And so any kind of strength training that you can do is going to help offset aging. It's going to help with not losing your muscle mass as you age. But strength training doesn't necessarily mean going to the gym, lifting 100 pounds or, whatever it is, doing dumbbells, doing machines, anything like that. For a lot of people just getting started, I really recommend resistance bands. Resistance bands can be your absolute best friend. They're very cheap. They come in lots of different varieties. There are little tubes that have handles on them. There are long, continuous circle bands. There are smaller circle bands that come in different resistance amounts. So it's very easy to progress. And you can buy resistance bands on Amazon for anywhere from like $8 to $20. They travel with you, so if you travel, you can just throw them in your suitcase. They're small. You can use them in a hotel room. You can kind of use them anywhere, and they're a very gentle way to get started with resistance training. And so resistance training, strength training, kind of the same thing. Resistance training will be very beneficial for helping you to ease into a little bit more exercise. Now, there are videos on YouTube. There are, reels and things on all kinds of social media things that you can look to get ideas for resistance training, strength training, those kinds of things. I highly recommend the organization that I was trained through for finding someone who is specialized in working with cancer patients. And I'll put it in the chat, but the website is thecancerspecialist.com. And then you can go to the little directory, and that will help you find somebody in your area if you're interested in really working with someone who really knows what they're doing. I mean, there's a lot of videos on YouTube, but a lot of them are done by fitness influencers or people who are personal trainers who don't necessarily know the intricacies of working with someone who's gone through cancer treatment, who has gone or is going through cancer treatment. And, a cancer patient is not the same as, Joe Schmo on the street who's never had any kind of issues, especially with Hodgkin's late effects. There's heart issues to deal with. There's immunocompromised issues, just all of the different things that you guys have gone through in your life. And just going to the gym and starting to lift weights, if you've never done it before, is probably not going to be the most beneficial thing to do. So strength training, resistance training is very important. And then cardio is very important. And, most of you have talked about having, certain kind of heart issues and things like that. And I understand that. And so again, starting slow and slowly adding on as you can handle that. And so I didn't really hear anybody mention anything about neuropathy. Is anybody experiencing neuropathy as a late stage effect? If, just raise your hand. Okay. Michael, yes.
I am.
So for Natalie?
Natalie,
Yes?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So for people dealing with neuropathy, the biggest concern about that is balance. So you don't necessarily want to be doing things that could affect your balance if you're not working on balance as well. So I generally recommend recumbent bikes or even upright bikes, something where you don't have to worry about, am I going to fall down? Treadmills can be okay if you can hold on, if you are used to being able to walk without a lot of issues. But usually recumbent bike, upright bike, swimming, you have to get your hair wet. I'm sorry, Rachel. Those tend to be kind of the best cardio type activities for people dealing with neuropathy. I wouldn't necessarily get on a stair climber or an elliptical machine, or, try and go running outside. And really take care of yourself. That is the most important thing. If you are noticing that you're having a challenge, back off, slow down, take a breather, and then try again later. Listening to your body is always the most important thing. You don't want to stop completely, because any symptoms that you might be experiencing are just information to kind of assess where you are, and then maybe backing off a little bit, slowing down a little bit, and then slowly ramping back up again. You always want to listen to your body first and what it's telling you, because your body will tell you everything that you need to know. Okay. Any questions about any of that? Well, you guys are so quiet. All right. I want to address a little bit about fatigue. Fatigue is probably one of the biggest side effects of especially radiation, almost also chemotherapy. And fatigue is usually a big factor in what keeps people from moving, what keeps people from exercising. When you're feeling fatigued, the last thing you want to do is get up and move. You want to just lay down or sleep or just rest and sit in your chair and not do anything at all. And I want to say that exercise is probably the number one remedy for fatigue. Not even necessarily exercise, but just moving. And I have just a little bit here about some of the benefits of moving for fatigue. And so exercise improves mitochondrial function and circulation. So it improves everything going on inside of your body. And gentle to moderate movement reduces fatigue more effectively than rest alone. And again, like I said before, it's about pacing yourself, not pushing yourself. So if you're feeling really fatigued one day, maybe just getting up and walking outside to the mailbox and coming back in. Even starting slow is going to be better than doing nothing at all. Strength training also for fatigue, strength training, mobility, it helps to combat that feeling of fatigue. Again, it's the last thing that you want to do, and it's going to be the most beneficial thing that you can do. Strength training also improves our abilities to do everything, even something from, sitting into a chair and standing up. That is basically a squat. People say, oh, my knees hurt. I can't squat. I can't do squats in the gym. Well, every time you sit down and stand up, you are doing a squat. So even if your knees are uncomfortable with that, it's still a movement that we have to do every day. Now, in my training that I do with my clients, I really focus on functional movements versus just, sitting in a bicep machine and doing this. I like to focus on movements that work the whole body at one time and are things that we have to do all day, every day. So yes, I do bicep curls with my clients because we have to carry groceries. We have to lift things out of the car. We may have grandkids that we want to lift up. That is using the muscles in the arms. And so we need to work those muscles so we can do those things, activities of daily living. And also just stability. So for neuropathy, yes, but all of us in general, especially as we age, we tend to be less balanced. So I want to talk a little bit about balance, because balance is something that I work with every single one of my clients, whether they're 25 or 85, because balance is what keeps us upright. It keeps us from falling. It keeps us from getting hurt. And it also helps to keep us stable. So I would like to, excuse me, challenge all of you to if you're not already, start working a little bit on balance in your daily activities. And that could be something I start my clients, every one of them, I just make sure that they can stand on 2 feet without having to hold on to anything. That is the first step. Okay. And then the second step is what I call tandem standing. So you want to always be close to something so you can hold on to something, but basically just putting one foot in front of the other so that, your toe and your heel are touching right in a line, and see if you can hold that without falling over, and doing it on both feet forward, that tandem standing. That is step 2. And then step 3 is being able to stand on 1 foot. And always you want to be close to a wall or a counter or something to work on being able to stand without falling over. And that's kind of the progression that I work with all of my clients. This is something that you can do, when you're cooking, when you're brushing your teeth, if you're washing dishes and you're near a counter, try and stand with 1 foot in front of the other and let go of the counter, or try and stand on 1 foot and let go of the counter, and see if you can do that. And the standard thing is to be able to do it for 20 to 30 seconds without having to hold on to anything, without falling over. And then if you can get to that point, then we start with standing on unstable surfaces. And if you are at home, you can stand on a pillow or stand on something that's got a little bit of instability, and work on being able to hold your balance standing on something that is unstable. If you're in the gym, a lot of gyms have like these pads that are kind of squishy that you can stand on that are a little unstable. A little more advanced work is like those Bosu balls that look kind of like a half dome, or like half of a ball, and working on standing on those, because those are going to be unstable as well. And it's okay when you're working on balance to wobble a little bit, because the 2 biggest pieces of balance, one is not falling over and being able to stand upright without falling over. But the other piece is sometimes we're going to trip or lose balance a little bit here and there. And the other piece of it is being able to correct yourself without falling over. So part of balance training is, okay, I'm a little unstable, but I'm going to work the muscles in my legs to try and correct that before you have to hold on. So there are lots of different things that you can do for balance, but balance is something that comes with practice. So I practice some kind of balance activity every single day, because it can be a use it or lose it kind of activity. And so I recommend and I challenge you guys all to start adding a little bit of balance work into your day. It's something you can do at home. It's something you can do that isn't even going to take anything away from your day. Again, you can do it while you're washing dishes. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth. Just kind of add that little piece in. All right, well, I have difficulty holding my head erect, weak, and stiff. Any exercises that you might recommend? So I've heard a couple of you kind of talk about neck issues, and that seems to be a pretty common thing, especially with radiation fibrosis and things like that. So for neck issues, the first thing to do is to start with gentle stretching. So those muscles are weak. They need to be strengthened, but they also need to be stretched. And you have muscles in the front of your neck and in the back of your neck, and figuring out which muscles are weak, because they're not necessarily both going to be weak. One is going to be a little too tight and the other one is going to be a little too weak, and it will help, your head will be kind of leaning back or leaning forward without any extra effort. So Gentle stretching is very important. And so you can start with just, bringing your head slowly to your chest and just stretching those muscles in the back and always holding on so you can protect and it's not going to just, flop one way or the other. And then the other thing is just, leaning back very slowly and just kind of holding it back there. And then you can use your head, your hand to help bring your neck back up. And then doing also side to side. And again, very, very gently and very slowly, because especially with radiation fibrosis, you don't want to do anything too quickly. You want to do things nice and slow and gentle, and that will help the stretching piece. And then once things are stretched, as you're stretching one side, you're engaging the other side. So even if you're just stretching, you are working on building a little bit more strength in the opposite side. So does that help at all? Okay, good. All right. Let me see. So we talked about resistance bands. We talked about balance training. The other thing is, and this is a lot for people with neuropathy, just doing chair exercises. There are a lot of things that you can do sitting in a chair that you don't have to do, that you don't have to stand up to do. You can do chair yoga. There are lots of chair yoga classes out there that are really a lot of fun. And there are, again, lots of videos and stuff on YouTube that you can look at for doing chair exercises, even if it's just things like, gentle marches. So you're sitting in a chair and you're just lifting up your knees and working the muscles in your legs. You can do a lot of upper body things. You want to be careful with the upper body exercises. Resistance bands, again, are a great way to start with working upper body. And I know, Rachel, you talked about not really doing much with your upper body exercises because you have such issues with your neck,
Can I just
correct?
say something? Because I'm
Of
going to
course.
have to go. The
Okay.
one thing you should absolutely not do is sit ups. I went on this kick a few years ago. I decided I needed to add sit ups. So I was doing like 40 to 60 sit ups. Killed my neck.
Yes.
It was the worst thing. Both my sons said I was an idiot because I'm doing sit ups. It was just stupid. And another thing before I go, I went to a physiatrist. Who, I don't know, the physical therapy didn't do anything, but I went to somebody who taught me this trick for neck pain, and I'll just do it quickly. On either side, you've got these muscles here and here. If you squeeze this one for 30 seconds and then squeeze the other one for 30 seconds, it does a great deal to relieve neck pain. It's unbelievable. It's the only thing it's this one, 30 seconds, and then this one, 30 seconds squeeze. And it's like a miracle, just to share that with you.
Thank you very much for sharing that.
You're
I
welcome.
love
And
that.
no sit-ups.
No sit-ups. No. I,
No, they're the
I do not do
worst.
sit-ups with any of my clients. There are
I
so many other
know.
ways that you can work your core that
Oh,
have
God.
no sit-ups are the worst thing that you can do
I
for you.
didn't know that. Both my son, I killed my neck doing this. It was just stupid, and they both told me how stupid I was. They're 51 and 49, and they're telling me how stupid I am. But it was stupid. But at any rate, I've got to go now. But it was a pleasure hearing you and meeting everybody.
Yes, thank you so much, Rachel, for joining. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Take
Bye
care,
bye.
Rachel.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. And so since Rachel talked about that, I do want to mention a little bit about core work. Core strength is vital to posture, to our ability to stand upright, to our ability to be able to do anything, especially without, throwing out your back, which I dealt with a lot in my chiropractic practice. And one of my favorite exercises for core, it is also very beneficial for balance, is called bird dogs. Does anybody know? Has anybody heard of bird dogs? Okay. So bird dogs are an exercise that you will do on all fours on the floor. So you will be on your hands and your knees. They call it tabletop position, so that, I wish I could show you, but I can't. So your hands are basically underneath your shoulders and your knees are underneath your hips, and you are on the floor, hand and knee position. And bird dogs are, you are going to, from that position, lift one arm and then the opposite leg and bring them both up and then back down to all fours position. Bird dogs are a fantastic exercise to help with balance. They work your deep core muscles, so they really help with your posture, and they're kind of fun to do. There's lots of variations that you can do with them. If your balance is such that you are not able to lift one arm and one leg at the same time, you can do them individually. So start lifting your right arm and bring it back down. Then lift your left leg and bring it back down. And then go to your left arm and then your right leg. And that's a good way to start, and really keeping your trunk in the same position, not swaying or moving it a whole lot, by engaging those core muscles. And it's a lot of fun. I love to do it with my clients. They always love it. You can also, from there, you can lift the right arm and then just stick the left leg out so that your toes are still on the floor. That's a progression before you lift up the leg. And it's something that just about everybody can do. If you can get down on the floor, you can do a bird dog exercise, and it's a great core stabilizer exercise for you all to do. So I love that. That's probably the easiest one to do. We talk about planks. Planks are a great core exercise to do if you can hold your head up to be able to do that. Again, progressions are, you start on your elbows and on your knees. That's the first place to start with a plank. And then once you can master that for 30 seconds, then you can come up on your toes and try that. And again, working very hard to keep your body in a line so that your butt's not way up in the air while you're trying to do a plank. I see people in the gym who think they're doing a great plank and their butt's way up in the air, and it looks more like a downward dog than a plank. But they're a lot of fun. Nobody likes to do core exercises. And please don't do sit-ups. Don't even do crunches. Yes, they're really great for core, but they're horrible for your neck. And if you have any neck, even the slightest bit of issues, it can cause a lot of damage trying to do sit-ups. So that's, I think, about all that I have specifically. The key things that I want to really reiterate are to pace yourself, to start slow. Any movement is better than no movement at all, whether it's doing little exercises in a chair, whether it's walking out to your mailbox and back. Start slow, start where you are, accept where you are, and then every couple of weeks, add on a little bit more. Once you get to a point where you can handle what you're doing without any issues, then you can add a little bit more. And if you get fatigued, if you get tired, slow down, maybe rest, but don't stop. That's the key thing. You never start over if you don't ever quit. Yes, YMCA is a fantastic program if you have a YMCA in your community. We don't have one out here. I work at a recreation center, and they have great programs there. We actually have a program for chronic conditions training where it's myself and one other trainer who are specialized in working with people who have cancer and other chronic diseases or illnesses. And it's a specialized training program specifically for them. And I know there are other organizations and stuff that do programs for people with chronic conditions or cancer. But I highly recommend, if you're interested in getting more information about exercise for cancer, to check out thecancerspecialist.com and look up and see if you can find a provider that is in your area, because it really is a specialized program and specialized training, and not everybody who hangs their hat as a personal trainer really knows how to work with people with late effects of cancer.
Great.
Oh, yes. I don't know. I gotta look and see if Livestrong is around here. I will definitely look into that, Gloria. Um, Walking sticks are fantastic. I have walking sticks myself that I use when I go hiking. It makes it a lot more fun. You can get upper body exercise, while you're hiking or just walking. I live in Colorado, so we have hills everywhere. There's nothing that's not technically a hike out here.
I
It's a
want to add
very,
something about the walking stick. If you take a broomstick and hold it like the Jesus on the cross position, do some moves and stuff with that. That is so fabulous for your upper neck. And I should make a little YouTube and send it out, because I really
You
use that.
should.
I find that so helpful. The most helpful neck exercise that I do is, just put your broomstick, hold it up, and put your hands drooped over it, because it moves all of this and all of that.
I was
that's a
gonna
great idea.
I was going to say that's not just for your neck. Like it's great for posture, because we spend so much of our lives like this, bent over the phone, bent over the computer, whatever. And anything that can help to stretch all this out and pull the shoulders back, which that does. I do a lot of exercises like rowing and things to work the back, especially the upper back, to bring the shoulders back, because as the shoulders are back, the lungs work better, the heart works better, because they're not cramped like this, because we're all hunched over. So that's a great thing, Gloria. I really like that. Thanks for sharing that, because I do that a lot with my clients as well.
So guys, we have like 3 minutes left. Does anyone have any parting questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
AFib, is that kind of a common side effect after you get an upper mantle? Because I had AFib and my cardiologist said it was very likely because of my upper mantle radiation.
Yeah, most likely will. I know other survivors have that, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do, and it's because of the radiation that we got, especially the cobalt. Whether you got mantle or full mantle, I got full mantle, and the radiation is what caused me to have the complete heart block, which means I don't have, my heart doesn't make electricity, so the atrial can't talk to the ventricle, and they can't get in sync. And that's why I now have the pacemaker. The pacemaker keeps them in sync.
Thanks, Julia. Will, are you familiar with the survivorship guidelines? For example, you should probably be getting echocardiograms every 2 years.
Um, I'm not familiar with it, no, but
All right, I'm going to talk to Aaron. I'm going to make sure we get the NCCN survivorship guidelines published on our website. They have a patient version and a clinician version. So I'll talk to Aaron about getting that out there, because that'll give you all the guidelines and you can show it to your medical team.
I'm not sure what your website is. Can you tell me?
Hodgkin's International. Google it.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Sorry, guys. I got to cut it short.
And I put my email in the chat, so if you guys have any more questions or would
Oh,
like to connect with me,
that's
please
fantastic.
reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat with any of you guys about any specific questions that you might have.
Thank you, Melissa, so much.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for having me on today, and thank you guys all
Absolutely.
for joining into this. I hope it was helpful.